No, I don't think it is. What's beginning to happen, we're beginning to see a levelling of the playing field. And these app companies that are primarily responsible for this have now just basically all been forced to raise their prices. Once it becomes an economic viability to do that again, people will do it. The black cab industry in London, the taxi industry in London, has seen a great resurgence in our customer base and the demographics, the much younger demographics of people using taxis. They can now jump in and touch their card or their phone or increasingly their watch. And they can hail a taxi on the street. And what we're seeing a great resurgence in that. And a lot of it is just a change in people's habits. You can no longer expect to find a cab on every corner. And so sometimes if you're going out for the evening, particularly if you're vulnerable, you're vulnerable, you need to make plans. You need to book a cab from a local firm beforehand, or you need to get someone to hail a taxi on the street for you. And you will get home, and you will get home safely. What has changed is, as I say, there's not somebody waiting on every corner prepared to work for virtually nothing. Those days have gone.
Steve, who have you had in the back of your taxi?
Over the years, well, most of the celebrities I've had in the back of my cab, Mark, are all dead, I'm afraid.
Oh dear.
I'm my big long time celebrity. I suppose Michael Caine a few times. People of that calibre. Robert De Niro, I've got a great story there, but I couldn't tell it on the air. Those sorts of big celebrities over the years.
And what's the best thing about being a taxi driver? Why do you still do it all these years on, Steve?
The great thing about being a taxi driver, particularly a black cab driver in London, is you're your own boss. You decide what hours you're going to work. You decide when you're going to work, how you're going to work, and what you're going to do. And that freedom is just not available in any other job. There'll be cab drivers tonight who will be at work tomorrow because they've not worked today because they've gone to a bonfire event with their children. Many jobs you can't do that. When I was driving a cab, I never missed a parents' evening, a school play or anything because I just worked other times. And that's the big attraction to the job, the flexibility.
And Steve, it must have been a nightmare the last 18 months for cab drivers across the country who haven't had an income because nobody has been able to travel around. We've been in lockdown on and off for a year and a half. And I guess some of those taxi drivers are paying for their vehicles on hire purchase. They've got big financial commitments. So just tell me about how drivers have been impacted by lockdowns and the pandemic measures.
We were absolutely slaughtered by the pandemic for all the reasons that you say. Many old taxi drivers are self-employed, and many of them fell through massive gaps in the SC.ISS scheme provided by the Chancellor. Many of them had no income whatsoever. Many of them were forced to sell vehicles or renege on finance agreements, which is, again, a contributory factor in the shortages today. And it has just been an absolute nightmare for us. But what has surprised us more than anything is how quickly things have returned to normal, particularly in the big metropolitan cities and in London in particular. Things are back to normal massively. Everybody's back at work. This great, everyone's going to work from home thing hasn't really happened, and most people are back at their desks at least 2 or 3 days a week. And, London is once again, the city it was, or almost the city it was. And, we've seen a great return to work, and long may it continue.